I'm hoping that the Iranian, like a free Iran, a free secular democratic Iran, will inspire the youth of Turkey as well and political activists in Turkey as well. And I think it will. I think it will inspire the youth of the entire region and political activists in the entire region, because in the same way that the Islamic Republic, the Islamic Revolution made Islamists all around the Middle East and North Africa, it gave them motivation that if it's possible in Iran to have an Islamic revolution, then we want to do the same thing in our country. And the Islamic Revolution of 1979 was the reason why we had so much it's radicalism and jihadism and Islamism all around the region. I'm thinking we will have the opposite of that happening when Iran becomes free, secular, and democratic. I think that could also, in the same way, basically be a source of inspiration and motivation for all the region to also fight for the same thing, to move away from Islam and towards secularism. This is why I also hope that we could, in Iranian people, after the fall of the Islamic Republic, will maintain a good and positive relationship with the people of their neighboring countries, even if they're frustrated with their leaders. So, one thing I advocate for on the Persian side and the Persian channel is for us to be angry with Erdogan, but not with Turkish people. To be like Susanna here has inspired me, for example, to constantly to now also advocate for us to have a positive view towards Iraqi people, even if we're frustrated with the Iraqi government or the Iraqi militia. Same thing with Afghanistan. So same thing with Pakistan. It's just Pakistan. We need to liberate Pakistan as well. But this is going to, holy hell, it's going to be very difficult to also deal with Pakistan. Hopefully, we could liberate Pakistan one day as well. But Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq, Turkey, as much as we might be frustrated with the militia terrorist groups and the government over there, the Iranian people could be a major source of positive influence if they try to maintain a good relationship with the people who live under them. For example, in Afghanistan, especially with the Tajik community in Afghanistan, we like it's not a very known fact in Iran how many Tajiks have the similar cultural backgrounds and values as the Iranian people. They celebrate the Shahnameh almost like in the same level as the Iranian people do. So that's a huge bond. That's a huge cultural bond. So with Afghanistan, we could create that bond. I mean, they speak the same language. They used to be part of Iran, so that's the bond that we have with them. Iraq used to be part of Iran. Turkey, we have that bond with Ataturk. So we need to create these bonds. Like Iran needs to become the base of operation for anti-Islamism and anti and pro-secular movement around the entire region. And I can't wait for the free Iran, because on the Persian side, I want to become. This is what I want to do. I want to become one of the people who is leading activism to export, in the same way that Khomeini was trying to export Islamism outside of Iran's border. I want to be a small part of this global movement out of Iran that wants to export secularism from Iran to outside of Iran. So I'm looking forward to that, for that to be a secular Khomeini. All right,
Okay.
let's move.
Yeah. Next, I have Joseph.
Joseph.
I'm back.
Yay, Joseph, where have you been? We missed
Mardi
you.
Gras. I have been writing or doing logistics with a couple of crews that I ride with since Epiphany.
Oh my
That was
God.
January 6th. Ash Wednesday just happened this last week. I'm back. It's trust me, when you have to be at the start of a parade route at 3 in the afternoon, 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm usually on the road at 2 o'clock, and then I'm busy. So, and then even on the days off, I'm usually trying to get whatever rest I can until this is the sole reason why I've been gone for about the last 2 months, and this will happen every year. It's just it's part of the grind. But I'm going to go back to something because I I don't see the one thing that needs to that I'm seeing happening, because I've been kind of paying attention to it. Canada is splitting up. Like to point that out. Alberta, Saskatchewan are the two that are going to be the first to go, with the possibility of British Columbia, Yukon, and Northwest Territories. What's going on currently in Edmonton and Regina, those are the capitals of Alberta and Saskatchewan.
Regina.
Regina. I hate using that. Sorry, it's the Deadpool reference is scary.
Okay.
Anyways, that's actually becoming a lot more of a reality because, and also as well as Manitoba, it's because people are getting ticked off with what's going on in Ottawa. Carney is cracking down in all the wrong ways, and it's starting to tick off Canada. From what I've seen, I'm right now researching their ties with China because it's going to really mess the whole thing up. But if BC breaks with Ottawa, China's going to is out to lunch because that's their Pacific entry point to Canada. Now, I grew up in Washington State, just below, so it's right now things are in flux. We've got God knows how much of our Air Force, the U.S. Air Force, is currently in the Middle East. Flight 42 is showing some of it, but for those of you who don't know, Flight 42 tracks all air traffic around the world. So you can actually see the flight patterns. So right now, where we are war-wise, I think we're on the edges where Iran's about to find out. They've been playing games for the last couple of months in the Straits of Hormuz. I think I'm pronouncing that right. But it's
Hormuz.
really, really weird what's going on right now. And if the Iranian military wants to really touch U.S. boats, it's not going to end well for them. It's never ended well for a country that's touched our boats. And that's been that way for 200 plus years. Just want to put that out. That's what I'm seeing currently right now. Hey, Dodge.
Okay. Yeah, by the way, I like that phrasing. It hasn't worked out for anybody who has touched our boats. That sounds badass. I like that. I don't think Canada is going like I don't know if you're talking about Canada falling apart as like like turning to like secede, like different parts seceding. Like I don't see that happening.
Yeah,
Because it was
actually
uh,
there has been some rumors floating around that Edmonton and Regina have been talking with the U.S. government, and there's been
yep.
referendums in both provinces to secede from Canada. And this is
Yeah,
not
but
the same.
with very little support. With very little support.
Actually, a lot. If you listen to Canadian news, yeah, there's no support. If you
No,
go through
polls. Looking at polls. If you look at polls,
I unfortunately I've not been paying attention to what's being published by the Canadian, the primary Canadian media because they are all in the back pocket of Carney.
yeah, I'm not talking about media. I'm talking about scientifically collected data. Polls suggest that there's not going to be enough support for it. Also, Canadians' main culture is that we're better than America. So I don't think that they want to like that's the main
It's also
Canadian
the same
identity is
country
being
as the
better than
reason
America.
why Canada is the reason we have a Geneva Convention.
Yes, I know.
It is because of their actions.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think okay, but you're always going to be able to find some people who would talk to Americans about something. That doesn't mean that there's a lot of support for it in Canada. But anyways, let's um we'll see. I guess we'll see.
I have Richard.
And Joseph, by the way, Joseph, it's really good to have you back. Miss hearing from you. But yeah, Richard.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, Ron. I had just two quick questions and two quick comments and a quick question regarding something you said earlier. So, dealing with watching the show earlier with Goldie and with Sank and the chunky yogurt, arguments and things like that, I think it's very important to keep in mind, generally, just taking a step back, that leftism ideologically does not tolerate dissent, and these kinds of emotional responses to any kind of dissent or question are to be expected anytime when dealing with a leftist. They often use them as clickbait specifically for that purpose because people love to see these kinds of angry breakdowns. But the emotional response is absolutely baked into the cake anytime you're dealing with a leftist. The Mexican situation, I do agree with what you said about American soft power, but I am far more pessimistic. Mexico is essentially a narco-state. The level of corruption of the narcos in the government and the military is so pervasive. I would not surprise me in the least to find out that El Mencho was basically killed at the behest of a rival cartel looking to take over territory. Um, I think this is something that Americans have dealt with before in South America. I have no doubt that Trump, is dealing with this with open eyes. But any calculation involving American soft power influence in Mexico has to take that corruption into account. The question was looking at a mainstream media article the other day talking about the resurgence of the Iranian military nuclear program, basically a piece to help the argument to expedite the strikes. And the source they were quoting, who they actually quoted as the initial party disclosing the Iranian nuclear military project back in the early 2000s, was actually
Okay,
from the National
MEK.
Council of Resistance of Iran, so basically MEK. My question is how we can improve our relationship with more established media entities so that they're not using MEK sources in stories like that.
Right, right. So the reason, so what we're talking about is there was when originally Israel came and years ago delivered the information to the world where it showed that the Islamic Republic is not abiding by the terms of the agreement, the nuclear agreement, the limitations of enrichment of uranium by the Islamic Republic in the agreement that they had under the IAEA with the countries that were involved. The reason why we know that they were not abiding by the terms of the deal, the nuclear deal, is Israel basically coming up with a lot of information that they got from the MEK, right? So this is what the MEK likes to remind people, that the reason why we got so much international pressure on the Islamic Republic is the data that they unearthed. They basically gave to the whole world. And when if you ask like, oh, why are people sourcing them? Are there not other alternative sources of information? That the problem with that is that it's not that they were being used as a source, like a media source. The thing that they're telling us is that the MEK was responsible in the the intelligent, like the spying activity. Like they were the ones who actually went and dug this information. They're the ones who are managed to, they had spies within Iran, within the Islamic Republic, and they give credit to themselves for eventually getting like you know how the nuclear deal, the JCPOA was thrown out, the Obama deal, that the deal that Obama was responsible for signing with the Islamic Republic, and the deal was basically the Islamic Republic will give in to the international observers from the IEA observers coming in and monitoring the level of enrichment of the Islamic Republic, and in return, there was the sanctions. Many sanctions were removed from the Islamic Republic. That is a deal that Obama was responsible for, and eventually Trump threw it away as one of the worst deals ever. You know, one of the worst deals in history for the United States. The MEK likes to claim that they deserve a lot of credit for the information that eventually led to that. So I have this hypothesis, and you might be it might be actually because I'm very biased against the MEK. You don't have, and nobody here has to take it seriously. But I have a hypothesis because when I look at the MEK, I think like there's no way you guys did this. Like you guys are so incompetent. When I look at their operations and the way that they behave, I'm like, you're not going to be able to even manage. I don't know, these like a whole bunch of really old cultish weirdos like, were you guys actually able to like go in deep inside the the atomic infrastructure and operations within the Islamic Republic and took all? I mean, maybe the Islamic, maybe this is also because the Islamic Republic is really was really shitty at keeping, like, hiding information. But I used to think that Israel just got that information themselves, and given that we didn't have really much of an opposition back then, they were working with the MEK, and they were just like, how about we just, here guys, we'll just dump this on you and we'll say you guys did it, right? Instead of saying that it was us, we will say that it was MEK, right? Because Israel did used to work with the MEK before. They don't anymore. I mean, Israel did used to work with Kurdish separatists and also with the MEK. Thankfully, they don't do that anymore. But honestly, to be fair to Israel, there wasn't really that much of a national patriotic opposition that they could rely on back then. And the MEK and the Kurdish separatists was all you get if you wanted to have something within Iran that would be, that you could use at some points against the Islamic Republic. And Israel's priority is its own survival and its own, the security. So it made sense if that was the only alternative, the only option, to go with that. So the MEK used to got a lot of credibility from that. And I remember Iranian International used to also spend a lot of time trying to promote the MEK. They would bring them on, they will basically cover their ceremonies and they will celebrate them. They will bring them explaining the operations that the MEK was responsible for unearthing this, like, for digging out this information. And they will basically give them hours to come and just market the MEK. They don't do that anymore, which is also the reason, because the Pahlavi movement is so big and the Iranian people don't tolerate that. So that's why they don't do that anymore. But, you know, but yeah, this was something that they used to do. And for example, I know and another reason why I have this hypothesis that Israel just managed to get that information themselves, and then they just gave it to MEK for them to claim credit for it, is because I also see Iran International, for the past couple of months, they have this very, very strange programs sometimes, and they all of a sudden come and present information that is so good, and it's too good. Like Iran International has these shows, and they come and say, for the first time we're going to show you this, and they show us the name of very specific people within the Islamic Republic being involved in some very special operations when it comes to moving money. It's either crypto or gold, or the way they move oil money around, not just from a narrative perspective against the Islamic Republic, but from an intelligence. Like, it just gives out so much operation, like, it unveils so much of their operation that it will make so many of their money moving, crypto moving, gold moving, terrorist activities gets exposed by Iran International in a way that they have to stop it. Like, it has become such a big problem for the Islamic Republic. I'm like, this is not investigative journalism. This is like spy shit. Like, this is beyond investigative journalism. Like, every time we cover this, like, they do certain things that we don't see from, I don't know, Reuters, CNN, like, even investigative journalism by some of the greatest, like, Western media. I haven't seen somebody being able to do that. Like, I wish I could go into details regarding what sometimes in Iran International shows us. I'm like, this is not investigative journalism. And I'm like, this is an Israeli dump. This is like, I think like Israel is just like going around unearthing information, and they just want to deliver it to the world. And they used to dump it into the arms of, like, into the lap of the MEK. And now that the MEK is not relevant anymore, they're just dumping it on Iran International. So this is my conspiracy theory, that Israel just goes in and just gets information, and they don't want to be the ones who are putting it out there, because they don't want to basically give the idea that, oh yeah, as we are in Iran and doing this and that, because they want to add to the whole narrative that they're inside Iran. And anyways, they have their own reasons why they don't want to say that this was us. They just get the information, and they put it, it's like a gift. It used to be a gift to the MK, and in my opinion, now this is just they're just giving it as a gift to Iran International. This is my hypothesis. I have no evidence for it. This is the conspiracy theory that I have. I don't know, Richard. Did I even answer your question? I just went on a tangent there. Did I even answer your question? Is Richard even here still? Oh yeah, he is.
Yeah, that's an interesting hypothesis. I mean, there is no doubt that there are divisions within the US government, and they would love to create this division in Iranian politics as well. I mean, we've seen this before, haven't we? You know, that divide and conquer theory. Yeah, go on.
No, I just really have to go. I thought this is going to be like 20 seconds, but I want to hear what Susanna has to say, and I'm almost running out of time. Yeah, go on.
Susanna?
No. I was just saying that, you know, I think that where they're getting their information from is probably divisions within certain governments, i.e., the US, that want to create divisions in Iranian politics and create factions. And I think it's probably them who are feeding the MEK this information, or rather releasing the information through the MEK.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean by division. Okay, but I'm just gonna quickly respond to this, and then I'm gonna move on to Susanna. I don't blame I don't blame Israel for doing this with the MEK before, and I appreciate that the fact that they moved on away from them. When Israel was working with the MEK, it was basically at that time there was zero alternatives. There was nothing there as a movement, as an organized movement, and MEK. I mean, as unpopular as they are, they were organized. To be fair to Israel, not to be fair to MEK, but the Kurdish separatists and the MEK were the only groups in Iran against the Islamic Republic that had some level of organization